George Burchett, the legendary tattoo artist, may have had an amazing career, tattooing royalty and having a vast list of clientele. But his life began with an unconventional start, expelled from school at the age of 12 for tattooing his classmates. From his rebellious beginnings, you'd hardly believe that George would become one of the most respected tattoo artists of the 20th century. Yet his journey from a troubled youth to tattooing kings and celebrities is as fascinating as it is extraordinary. Born George Burchett Davis on August 23, 1872, in a seaside town of Brighton, East Sussex. George was the oldest of 12 children. His fascination with tattooing began at an early age while exploring the docks and the beaches of Brighton. He would become friends with sailors and dock workers who had tattoos from all over the world. He was so intrigued that he would go home and scratch, as George would call it later, on his younger brother. Going a step further, he would tattoo his fellow classmates. Because of his expulsion from school at the age of 12 years old, George was forced to work menial jobs. His parents would send him to London to become an apprentice for a boot repairer in Hackney. George would spend most of his free time at the Royal Aquarium. He would go ahead and quit his job as a cobbler so he could become a billiards marker at the aquarium. While the aquarium did have fish in tanks, it's not really what we think of as an aquarium today. It was more of an exhibition hall with music, theater, and different oddities. Here's where George would be introduced to tattooed men and women who were actually making a living as tattooed oddities. This would also give him the opportunity to practice on some of his fellow employees along with the occasional patron. George would quickly learn that menial jobs failed to satisfy him. And at 13 years old, he went and defied his parents. He would go ahead and enroll in the Royal Navy as a trainee. A trainee would do different jobs on the ships until they would turn 18 years old, and that's when they were able to go ahead and set sail. At the time that George turned 18, he began to work on the ship, the HMS Vincent. Here's where he would acquire his first tattoo kit by a fellow seaman by the name of Weatherby and begin practicing on fellow shipmates. George's first world tour would give him an opportunity to see many different styles of tattooing. He would see styles from the West Indies, Africa, India, and points beyond. While in the port of Yokohama, Japan, George would get tattooed by legendary Japanese tattoo artist Hori Hoya. George couldn't afford a larger piece from Hori. He would offer him a smaller lizard tattoo on his forearm. Realizing that the military really wasn't for him, he would jump ship and go AWOL while he was in Israel. This is where he would set up a small tattoo shop in the town of Jaffa, where he would tattoo Western travelers. George would have some altercations with some of the local tattoo artists, and they would wind up running him out of town. He would continue to evade Navy prosecution by going back to work at sea as a merchant marine. Burchett would sail North and South America, finally returning to England after 13 years. He would also drop his surname Davis in 1896 and start a new life in London. In 1897, he would meet his future wife, Edith Smith Walters. They would move to East London, where he would open up a shoe repair shop on Burdett Street. George would juggle his job as a cobbler while tattooing some of his clients in the back room when it was slow. His reputation as a good tattoo artist started to spread. First came the dock workers, and then came the sailors. George would move his shop down to Trafalgar Square, where he would start to put designs together for Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee. Knowing that the interest in tattooing was growing by the upper class, they were also willing to pay good money just for the privilege of getting tattooed. By 1900, George and Edith would sell the shoe shop, and he would give up working as a cobbler and open up a shop down on Mile End Road. George and Edith would actually stay at this shop for a couple of years. By 1904, George would have a new shop that was located near Waterloo Station. From here, at a distance, he would actually see the success that Southern Linda McDonald and Tom Riley were having with cosmetic tattooing. George would also purchase his first electric tattooing machine from Tom Riley. Around 1906, George would actually be lured into the world of cosmetic tattooing by a local salon. George was sworn to secrecy as the salon owner didn't want the word to get out that a tattooist was doing the cosmetic tattooing treatments. Working at the salon, George would be introduced to different celebrities as he would do work on them. The new Waterloo Station by 1907 would benefit George. You see, it was at this time that King Edward VII would dedicate a newly opened Union Jack Services Club. It just happened to be across the street from his shop. This would bring an influx of soldiers seeking brand new tattoos. His minimalist shop would buzz with activity. George's style at the time was mostly patriotic style of tattoos, but he would also do portraits, pinups, and animals. Despite his growing success, George was having problems with the lease at 98 Waterloo Road. And then the building was condemned. He was given an opportunity to go to South Africa by one of his clients, who just happened to be a director for the De Beers Diamond Company. He was offered a partnership in an amusement arcade that would provide his family with a decent income. He figured, why not? And he sent for his wife Edith and kids. Burchett and his partner, J.T. Clark, would open up a shop on Rissick Street. And George would also open up a complexion treatment salon in downtown Johannesburg. By 1913, Edith was feeling a little homesick and wanted to return home to England. Upon return to London, he would open up his new shop at 72 Waterloo Road. He wanted to be near the Waterloo Station so he could continue to make a living off of the sailors that would get off the train and want to get a brand new tattoo. He would also continue to do cosmetic tattooing at some more upscale salons throughout different locations in London. Now, while he wasn't tattooing, Burchett would constantly work on new flash designs. His flash would incorporate African, Japanese, and Southeast Asian imagery. George would perfect some of his softer, more feminine pieces while tattooing his wife Edith. Her tattoos would showcase the more delicate nature designs and intricate portraits. His decision to change his focus away from military and patriotic designs allowed him to attract a higher level of more upscale clientele. While George's work gained acclaim, his hard work and determination was about to pay off. Burchett would be called upon to tattoo his first king, King Alfonso VIII of Spain. Later, he would have an opportunity to tattoo King Frederick of Denmark. He would tattoo a dragon on Frederick's chest, along with some of the other tattoos that Frederick had. It was reported that Burchett had tattooed King George V of the United Kingdom, but there's no reliable evidence to back those claims. If you have ever heard the name George Burchett before, and you're not a diehard tattoo enthusiast, it's more than likely that his name rings a bell because he is the tattoo artist that tattooed the Great Omi. The Great Omi, whose real name is Horace Riddler, was an army officer who struggled to find a good job after being released from his military service. He did have a few tattoos and thought he could be a tattoo sideshow in 1922. He quickly found out that there was a lot of competition during those days. He realized that he had to do something drastic to get an edge. Around 1927, he would go to Burchett's shop with a crazy idea to turn himself into a human zebra. George was against the idea at first, and he made Horace and his wife sign a consent letter before George would even start any of the work. It's said that it took over 150 hours and thousands of dollars to complete the great Omi's head-to-toe zebra stripes. Later, Burchett would say that he was never paid in full for the work that he had done. He would often joke about calling him the great O-me. George would continue to reinvent himself. In the 1930s, he would expand even more into the cosmetic tattooing. Women would travel from all over Europe to get his permanent makeup. The women would come to Burchett to get lip and cheek tinting and permanent eyebrows. George Burchett's career spanned over 5 decades. He would tattoo up until the age of 80 years old. He would transform his life from being a rebellious youth into a celebrated tattoo artist. His innovations in tattooing, including cosmetic tattooing, cemented his status as being the king of tattooists, and it reshaped the art form's professional standing. You want to see more tattoo history and other fascinating stories? Click on that like and subscribe button to get notified when we post more episodes about tattoo history and other legendary tattoo artists. And if you want to see another episode right now, click on one of these links here to watch more.